With the NFL season in full swing, a new book is detailing the rise of two of the game's greatest broadcasters, Madden and Summerall. How they revolutionized NFL broadcasting was released earlier this month. It tells the story of how John Madden, who is widely considered one of football's greatest coaches, teamed up with Pat Summerall, a former player, to become the sport's main voices. And joining us now is the author of that book, Rich Podolsky. Rich is also a former staff writer for CBS Sports and colleague of Madden and Summerall. Rich, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on this book. You know, today when a lot of people hear the name John Madden on its own, especially people who are younger, they might think of the video game first. But what was it about Madden and his pairing with Pat Summerall that made him so revered?
Madden was the everyman. He started out with Miller Lite by accident when he was asked to do the Miller Lite beer commercials in 1980. He said, "I don't even like beer. Why should I do this?" And his wife said, "What else you got going for you?" And he became the guy on those commercials. Everybody loved him, especially when he crashed through the wall. That's the way he was in the booth with Summerall. Summerall was, separately, they were great. Together, they were the greatest ever. It's been over 20 years since they worked together, since they were on the air. They're both gone now, but no one disputes that they were the greatest team in the history of NFL broadcasting. And what they did was they lifted the NFL to a new level of popularity, and more than just a portrait of them emerges because of that.
And Rich, you write about how they almost kind of came together on accident just because one person filled in. But when they teamed up, Summerall was already a pretty seasoned broadcaster working in the booth, though completely new to him. What were some of the early struggles they faced?
What were some of the early what, Nancy?
The early struggles. What were some of the early struggles they faced?
Well, Madden wasn't even sure he wanted to be a broadcaster. He didn't like the guys he heard on the air, like Howard Cosell. He called them a bunch of hairdos. And when asked by the great super agent Barry Frank to accept CBS's offer of 4 or 5 games that first year that since he retired from coaching, he said, maybe in a few years. And Barry Frank wisely said, in a few years, they might not want you, John. And he said, okay, I'll give it a shot. He did four games that first year. He wasn't very good. In fact, there were some executives at CBS who wanted to fire him, but he told a story at a Super Bowl luncheon at the end of the season that had the entire room in stitches. That saved his job. From then on, he improved, kept improving. And in his third season, they paired him with Pat Summerall. And as one of the Madden boys said, it was like peanut butter and jelly meeting for the first time.
I love that. What a pairing. I mean, they were truly a powerhouse. You write in your book, just because I think for people who are of a different generation, they aren't as familiar. But as a team, they became so beloved. But they're also really different when it comes to how they call these games. Can you talk about how they managed to make it work as well as they did?
Yeah, Madden loved to spin his stories, and Summerall had been an analyst in the beginning. He was already working for CBS for about 20 years when he was paired with Madden, beating out Vince Scully for the job. Vince Scully, the famous Dodgers broadcaster. And so the reason for that was Scully liked to talk even more than Madden. And the executive producer, Terry O'Neill, said, if they're both on together, the viewer will be wrung out by halftime. But Pat Summerall, as a play-by-play guy, he was a man who cherished his words. He certainly believed in being a minimalist, and he left room for Madden to become Madden, and he really gave himself up so John Madden could become the guy we all grew to love.
True legends. Rich Podolsky, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on this book.
Thank you again. Take care.